When I was growing up, my dad always had a cruel streak. He found humor in other people's disappointment, especially mine. My mom wasn't much better. She'd just stand by and watch, occasionally throwing in her own cutting remarks. But when you're a kid, you don't realize this isn't normal. You just think all families have this strange dynamic where you're constantly the butt of the joke. I moved out at 18 and put myself through college with minimal contact. At 25, I'd worked my way up to a decent position at a financial services company. I was doing well enough that I could afford my own apartment and even started saving for the future. I'd also managed to limit my interactions with my parents to obligatory holiday calls and the rare weekend visit that always left me emotionally drained. About 6 months ago, my dad called me out of the blue, something that never happened. His voice had that forced cheerfulness that always made me wary. "Hey kiddo, your mom and I are planning this amazing trip to Hawaii for the family," he announced. "We've been saving for years, and we want you to come. It'll be a great chance to reconnect. 3 weeks in paradise." I was stunned. My parents had never included me in their vacations growing up. They'd go off to beach resorts or cruises and leave me with my grandmother, who was the only person in my family who showed me genuine affection. This invitation felt suspicious, but also like maybe they were finally trying to make amends. "That sounds really nice, Dad," I replied cautiously. "When are you thinking?" "July. We'll send you all the details. Start planning your vacation time. This is going to be the trip of a lifetime." Over the next few months, I actually got excited. I requested the time off work, which wasn't easy considering it was our busy season. I bought new summer clothes, beach gear, and even a nice camera to document what I hoped would be a healing experience for our family. My boss was skeptical when I told him I needed 3 weeks, but eventually approved it after I promised to handle some work remotely. 2 weeks before the supposed departure date, I still hadn't received any concrete details. I called my dad to confirm the flights and accommodations. "Hey Dad, I need to finalize some things for Hawaii. Can you forward me the itinerary?" There was a pause, then a chuckle that sent ice down my spine. It was a laugh I recognized from childhood, the prelude to disappointment. "Hawaii? Oh, that. We changed plans months ago. Your mom and I are going to Europe instead. Didn't I tell you?" "No, you didn't tell me," I said, my stomach dropping. "So when's the Europe trip? Am I still invited?" That's when my dad let out that full, cruel laugh I remembered from childhood. "You were never invited, kiddo. It's just me and your mom. We can't afford to bring you along on something like this." I stood there with the phone to my ear, feeling that familiar humiliation washing over me. My father was still laughing on the other end, as if this was the funniest joke he'd ever told. "Why would you tell me to take time off work if I was never invited?" I asked, struggling to keep my voice steady. "Oh, come on, don't be so sensitive. I thought you'd figure it out eventually," he replied. "Besides, now you have a nice vacation at home. Win-win." That's when something inside me snapped. 25 years of being the punchline, of having my feelings treated like they were meaningless, of being manipulated for someone else's amusement. I'd had enough. "When do you leave for Europe?" I asked, my voice suddenly calm. "Next Saturday. 2-week tour through Italy, France, and Spain. Top-notch accommodations, too. Your mother insisted on 5-star hotels." He sounded so proud, so smug. "That sounds amazing. Have a great time," I said before hanging up. What my father didn't know was that I had access to my parents' financial information. 3 years earlier, when my grandmother passed away, she'd left me as the executor of her modest estate. My parents had convinced her to put them on her accounts, just in case, but she'd been clever enough to make me the legal authority. After settling her affairs, I'd never removed myself from those accounts, and my parents were too financially careless to notice. I opened my laptop and logged into their joint savings account, the one my father had labeled Vacation Fund, in his typical unimaginative way. There it was, $22,475 saved for their European adventure. I also knew they had booked through Lux Travels, a high-end agency where my college roommate now worked as a senior travel consultant. I called her immediately. "Hey Melissa, it's me. I need a favor." After explaining the situation, Melissa was appalled but hesitant. "I don't know. That's a major breach of protocol. I'm not asking you to do anything illegal," I clarified. "Just give me the details of their booking. I'll handle the rest." Whether it was our friendship or her own sense of justice, Melissa relented. Within an hour, I had a complete breakdown of my parents' travel plans, flight information, hotel reservations, prepaid excursions, everything. Next, I transferred every penny from their vacation fund into a new account under my name. Then I systematically contacted each hotel, tour company, and the airline. Since the bookings were made through the agency in my father's name, canceling them was surprisingly easy with the right information. "I need to cancel due to a family emergency," I told each representative, using my most regretful tone. "Yes, full cancellation." No, rescheduling won't be possible. By evening, their entire European vacation had been dismantled. Most places offered refunds, which conveniently went back to the agency's holding account, not directly to my parents. Melissa confirmed that the refund process would take 7 to 10 business days to process, well after their planned departure date. The final touch was sending an email to my parents pretending to be from Lux Travels, confirming their trip details with a PDF attachment of their final itinerary. The attachment contained nothing but a single page that read, "You were never really booked." Funny, right? Then I waited. I took that 3-week vacation time I'd been granted and booked myself a last-minute trip to Thailand. Something I'd always wanted to do, but never thought I could afford. The $22,475 would more than cover it, with plenty left over. The morning of their supposed departure, I was already lounging on a beach in Phuket when my phone lit up with my father's name. I silenced it with a smile and ordered another cocktail. He called 17 more times over the next 3 hours. My mother called 23 times. I let every call go to voicemail, savoring each notification like a delicious appetizer before the main course. Finally, I listened to one voicemail. "What the hell is going on? We're at the airport, and they're saying we have no reservations. Call me back immediately." I sent a single text. "You were never really booked." Funny, right? Then I turned off my phone for the rest of the day. When I turned it back on the next morning, there were dozens of increasingly frantic messages. Apparently, they'd gone to the Lux Travels office in person, only to discover all their bookings had been canceled and the refunds were still processing. They couldn't rebook because all their vacation money was gone, and the credit cards they tried to use were declined due to suspicious activity flags I'd triggered with the large transfer. My mother's final message was different from my father's rage. "Please tell me you didn't do this," she whispered, her voice breaking. It was the first time I'd ever heard genuine emotion from her instead of passive agreement with my father's cruelty. I spent my 3 weeks in Thailand in absolute bliss. I went scuba diving in crystal clear waters, explored ancient temples, made friends with travelers from around the world, and even had a brief romance with an Australian marine biologist. For the first time in my life, I felt completely free of the shadow my parents had cast over me. When I returned home, tanned and revitalized, I found a letter from my father's lawyer threatening legal action for theft. I replied with my own lawyer's letter detailing years of emotional abuse, along with documentation of my legal access to my grandmother's accounts that they had never properly transferred after her death. The money, technically, had always been partially mine. The cancellations were simply a customer changing their mind. Nothing illegal had occurred. After a tense meeting between our attorneys, my parents backed down. They knew they had no case. More importantly, they finally understood that I was no longer their emotional punching bag. Last week, I received a handwritten letter from my mother. She'd left my father and was staying with her sister. "I'm sorry for every time I didn't stand up for you," she wrote. "I don't expect forgiveness, but I want you to know that I see clearly now what we did to you. I haven't decided if I'll respond yet. Part of me wants to rebuild something with her, now that she's away from my father's influence. Another part of me knows that true healing might mean keeping my distance from both of them. What I do know is that I've scheduled another vacation next summer, a solo trip to New Zealand. And this time, there's no cruel joke waiting at the end, no last-minute cancellation to endure. Just me, honoring my own plans and keeping my own promises. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't just getting even. It's breaking free of the people who never valued you in the first place. And while I don't recommend stealing your parents' vacation fund as a general life strategy, in my case, it was the wake-up call they needed and the liberation I deserved. 3 weeks in Thailand taught me more about family than 25 years with my parents. True family lifts you up. It doesn't tear you down for a laugh. And sometimes, you have to go halfway around the world to find that truth.